Elevated composting for urban farming. Elevated composting for urban farming. Urban farming is becoming an increasingly popular trend in cities around the world. People are becoming more aware of the benefits of growing their own food and the environmental and health benefits of consuming locally produced organic food. However, in cities, space is often limited and the soil is often contaminated. One solution to this problem is elevated composting. Elevated composting is a type of composting that involves building compost bins above the ground. This technique is particularly useful in urban farming, where space is limited and the ground may be contaminated or of poor quality. Elevated composting allows urban farmers to create their own high-quality soil, which can support healthy plant growth. There are several benefits to using elevated composting in urban farming. Firstly, it is a space-saving technique. Instead of taking up space on the ground, elevated composting allows farmers to create compost in a compact and vertical space. This is particularly useful in small urban gardens, where any extra space is valuable. Secondly, elevated composting allows for better control over soil quality. In urban areas, the soil can often be contaminated with heavy metals and other pollutants. By creating their own compost, farmers can ensure that their soil is free from these contaminants, and is therefore safer for growing food. Thirdly, elevated composting helps to reduce waste. In urban areas, waste disposal can be a major problem. By creating compost from organic waste, urban farmers can reduce the amount of waste that goes to landfill, and create a natural fertilizer for their crops at the same time. So how does elevated composting work? There are several different methods of building an elevated compost bin, but all of them involve suspending the composting material above the ground. One simple method is to use a wooden pallet, which can be stood on its end and filled with compost material. Another method is to use a series of stacked bins, which can be filled with compost material from the top down. When building an elevated compost bin, there are some important considerations to keep in mind. Firstly, the bin should be sturdy and secure. Compost can become very heavy, and the last thing urban farmers want is for their compost bin to collapse. Secondly, the bin should have good ventilation. Composting material needs air to break down properly, so it is important that the compost bin is well aerated. Finally, the bin should be easy to access. Urban farmers will need to be able to add new material to the compost bin, so it should be easy to open and close. Once the elevated compost bin is set up, urban farmers can begin adding compost material. This can include any organic matter, such as kitchen scraps, yard waste, and even shredded paper. The composting material should be layered, with a layer of carbon-rich material, such as dried leaves or straw, followed by a layer of nitrogen-rich material, such as vegetable scraps. This layering helps to create the ideal environment for composting microorganisms to thrive. Urban farmers should also be careful to monitor their compost bin regularly. Composting material needs to be moist but not too wet, and it needs to be turned regularly to ensure that air is able to flow through it. Over time, the compost material will break down and become a natural fertilizer that can be added to the soil to support plant growth. In summary, elevated composting is an excellent technique for urban farmers who want to grow healthy, organic food in a limited space. By building compost bins above the ground, urban farmers can save space, control soil quality, and reduce waste. Elevated composting is simple to set up and easy to maintain, making it an excellent choice for anyone interested in urban farming. In addition to the benefits already mentioned, elevated composting can also promote better water retention in the soil. Organic matter in compost has a sponge-like quality that can help the soil retain moisture, reducing the need for excessive watering. This is particularly important in urban farming, where access to water may be limited or expensive. Another advantage of elevated composting is that it can be used to create a closed-loop system. This means that the food waste produced by urban farmers can be used to create compost, which in turn can be used to grow more food. This closed-loop system is not only environmentally friendly, but also cost-effective for urban farmers who would otherwise need to purchase fertilizers and soil amendments. Furthermore, elevated composting can help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. When organic matter is sent to landfill, it breaks down anaerobically, producing methane gas, a potent greenhouse gas. By composting organic matter instead, urban farmers can reduce the amount of organic waste that ends up in landfill, and therefore reduce greenhouse gas emissions. One potential challenge of elevated composting is that it may attract pests and rodents. However, this can be mitigated by using a secure bin and avoiding adding any meat or dairy products to the compost, as these can attract pests. Another challenge may be the initial cost of building an elevated compost bin, although this can be mitigated by using recycled materials or repurposed items. Additionally, elevated composting can also benefit the overall health of the urban environment. As more people become interested in urban farming and elevated composting, there may be a reduction in urban heat islands. Urban areas are known for their heat-trapping abilities, which can increase temperatures and make it uncomfortable for people and plants to thrive. However, by increasing the amount of greenery in urban areas through urban farming and composting, there can be a reduction in urban heat islands, leading to a cooler and more comfortable environment. Another environmental benefit of elevated composting is that it can reduce the need for chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Chemicals used in conventional fertilizers and pesticides can have negative impacts on human health and the environment. By using compost as a natural fertilizer, urban farmers can reduce their reliance on these harmful chemicals. Elevated composting can also promote biodiversity in urban areas. Gardening hacks, tools and techniques for maximum yield. Gardening hacks, tools and techniques for maximum yield. Gardening is a fulfilling activity that offers numerous health benefits and gives you the chance to enjoy Mother Nature's peacefulness and beauty. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or a beginner looking to grow your first plants, you want to make the most of your efforts by using smart tools and techniques to yield maximum output. Here are some gardening hacks you should know to make your plants thrive. 1. Use good quality soil. Soil is the foundation of your garden. It determines how nutritious your plants will be and how well they will grow. Good soil needs to have a balance of organic matter, water, and breathable air for your plant's roots. A high-quality soil mix usually includes compost, perlite, peat moss, and vermiculite. You can also add natural amendments like bone meal, blood meal, and rock phosphate to enhance soil fertility. Consider using a soil testing kit to check the pH levels and determine which amendments your garden soil may need. 2. Use mulch. Mulching is an essential technique to help your garden soil retain moisture, suppress weed growth, and regulate soil temperature. Mulch also helps to discourage pests and diseases that might affect your plants by creating a barrier for them. Organic mulches like leaves, straw, and grass clippings are cheap and effective ways of adding nutrients to your soil as they decompose over time. 3. Companion planting. Companion planting is a smart gardening technique which involves planting different crops together to complement and support each other in the garden. For example, planting beans, peas, or alfalfa alongside cucumbers and squash help to enrich the soil with nitrogen, increase beneficial insect populations, and help to control pests. Marigolds and other flowering plants can also attract beneficial pollinators and act as natural pest repellents. 4. Water wisely. Watering your garden regularly is important, but water wastage can negatively affect your plants and the environment. To save water while still keeping your garden moist, consider using a drip irrigation system, which delivers water directly to your plant's roots without wasting much water. Also, watering your plants early in the morning or late in the evening can help to reduce water evaporation loss. Use a rain gauge to measure rainfall in your garden and schedule watering accordingly. 5. Use raised beds. Raised beds are an efficient way to grow your plants in a confined space while maximizing yields and minimizing water use. They also help to prevent soil compaction, which can reduce water drainage, disturb soil nutrients, and result in reduced crop yields. Use raised beds made of non-toxic materials such as untreated cedar, redwood, or cypress to avoid your plants from absorbing the chemicals. 6. Use fertilizers. Fertilizers provide your plants with essential nutrients such as nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, which are essential for growth and yield. Organic fertilizers such as compost, manure, and bone meal are great options to feed your plants since they are slow-releasing and will improve soil structure over time. Avoid over-fertilizing as it can cause your plants to produce excess foliage at the expense of flowers or fruit. 7. Use right tools. Using the right tools for gardening can make a significant difference in your garden's success. Some essential tools for planting, weeding, watering, and harvesting include shovels, hose, rake, trowel, pruners, and gloves. Select sturdy tools that are made of high-quality materials and are comfortable to use. Keep your tools clean and sharpened for increased efficiency and effectiveness. 8. Pest control. Pest control is an important aspect of gardening as pests can damage plants or reduce yields. However, you don't want to use harsh chemicals that can contaminate your food or harm beneficial insects. Use natural pest control methods such as diatomaceous earth, neem oil, and soap solution to deter pests, root maggots, and aphids. Companion planting, as mentioned earlier, can also help to keep pests away. 9. Consider vertical gardening. If you have limited space in your garden, consider vertical gardening. This technique involves growing plants upwards rather than outwards. You can use different methods such as trellises, stakes, or wall-mounted planters to grow your plants vertically. This approach maximizes space and makes it possible to grow more plants in a small area while still maintaining yields. 10. Prune regularly. Pruning is an essential gardening technique that involves removing dead or diseased branches, leaves, or stems that can harbor pests or diseases. Building your own greenhouse for year-round gardening. Building your own greenhouse for year-round gardening. A greenhouse is an excellent way to extend your growing season and cultivate plants that might not thrive in your region's climate. A greenhouse allows gardeners to maintain a consistent environment for their plants optimally. You can regulate temperatures, humidity, and light, creating an ideal environment for tropical plants, vegetables, flowers, and fruit trees. If you're a gardening enthusiast and want to build a greenhouse yourself, then this article is for you. We will cover everything from planning, designing to building steps and running a greenhouse. 1. Choosing the best site. Before you begin the design and construction of a greenhouse, you need to select the perfect location. The site should receive maximum sunlight, especially in the winter months when the sunlight is scarce. However, you must also consider sheltering your greenhouse from harsh winds that can damage the structure. 2. Types of greenhouse. Greenhouses come in several varieties, each with different designs and materials. Freestanding greenhouses and attached or lean-to greenhouses are two of the most popular designs. A freestanding greenhouse offers the most flexibility in terms of design and location. This type of greenhouse can be positioned anywhere in your garden provided it is level and has access to water and electricity. On the other hand, an attached greenhouse or lean-to greenhouse is designed to attach to the side of a wall, such as your house or garage. This type of greenhouse is perfect if you are limited on space and want to grow plants year-round. Another type of greenhouse is the cold frame, which is a small and compact structure that sits closer to the ground than a full-sized greenhouse. Cold frames are excellent for starting seedlings and protecting plants from frost. 3. Designing your greenhouse. The design of your greenhouse should be based on the type of plants you plan to grow, as well as the available space and budget. Infrared absorbing glass is an excellent choice for your greenhouse, as it helps maintain a consistent temperature and can reduce heating costs. If you live in a cold climate, a double-glazed greenhouse with insulation will help keep heat inside, whereas in a warmer climate, a single glazed greenhouse will suffice. You can also consider adding shading or ventilation to control the temperature inside your greenhouse. 4. Materials needed for construction. The construction of a greenhouse requires a variety of materials, including lumber, polycarbonate sheets, glass panels, PVC piping, and screws and nails. The type of material you choose will depend on your budget, location, and climate. Lumber is the most common material used for the frame of a greenhouse. Cedar, redwood, and pine are popular choices as they are durable and naturally resistant to rot and insects. Polycarbonate sheets are an affordable option for greenhouse glazing. They are lightweight and provide high levels of insulation. If you live in an area with heavy snowfall or hail, consider investing in tempered glass panels instead. PVC piping comes in various sizes and is a cost-effective option for creating a sturdy frame. Screws and nails are used to hold the frame together, and silicone sealant is necessary to seal any gaps between the glazing panels and the frame. 5. Building your greenhouse. Building a greenhouse requires a lot of work and patience. Follow these steps to build your greenhouse. Step 1. Lay the foundation by leveling out the ground and laying a perimeter of bricks, cinder blocks, or treated wood. Step 2. Build the frame of your greenhouse by attaching the lumber together, step by step. Step 3. Cut and install the polycarbonate sheets or glass panels onto the frame. Step 4. Install the door and ventilation system. Step 5. Install any additional equipment, such as fans, heaters, or drip irrigation systems. 6. Operating your greenhouse. Once your greenhouse is complete, it's time to start gardening. Regardless of the plants you would like to grow, you must remember these fundamental points. Provide appropriate lighting. Greenhouse plants require up to 14 hours of sunlight a day, so you will need to invest in grow lights if you do not have enough natural light. Maintain temperature and humidity. The temperature in your greenhouse should remain between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, with humidity between 50 to 70%. Water plants regularly. Ensure your plants receive enough water to thrive. Setting up a drip irrigation system can be beneficial. Monitor pests. Pests such as aphids, spider mites, and whiteflies can hinder the growth of your plants. Check your plants regularly and treat pests accordingly. Control the climate. Setting up a ventilation system can help regulate temperature and humidity inside your greenhouse. 7. Maintaining your greenhouse. Gardening on a budget. Thrifty ways to create a beautiful garden. Gardening on a budget. Thrifty ways to create a beautiful garden. Having a beautiful garden can be a relaxing and fulfilling hobby, but it can also be expensive. If you're on a budget, don't worry, there are plenty of thrifty ways to create a stunning garden without breaking the bank. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out, here are some tips to help you create a beautiful garden on a budget. 1. Start with a plan. Before you start planting, it's important to have a plan. This will not only help you determine what type of plants and flowers you want to include in your garden, but it will also help you stay within your budget. Sketch out a layout of your garden and decide which areas you want to focus on. This will help you determine how much money you'll need to spend on plants, mulch, and other gardening supplies. 2. Choose the right plants. Choosing the right plants can help you save money in the long run. Opt for plants that are native to your area, as they are more likely to thrive and require less maintenance. They also tend to be less expensive than exotic plants that need special care. Additionally, consider perennials instead of annuals, as they don't need to be replanted every year. You can also look for plants that are on sale or buy them at the end of the season when they are discounted. 3. Plant vegetables and herbs. Planting vegetables and herbs is a great way to save money on groceries while also enhancing the beauty of your garden. These plants can be grown in containers or in a designated vegetable garden area. Vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers are easy to grow and produce a bountiful harvest. Herbs like basil, parsley, and mint are not only beautiful, but they can also be used in cooking. 4. Use raised beds or containers. If you don't have a lot of space for a garden, consider using raised beds or containers. These options are not only budget-friendly, but they are also easy to manage and can be moved around if necessary. Raised beds can be made with inexpensive materials like recycled wood or cinder blocks, and containers can be purchased at discount stores or online. 5. Create your own mulch. Mulch is a great way to keep your garden moist, suppress weeds, and add nutrients to the soil. However, it can be expensive to purchase in large quantities. Instead, create your own mulch by using fallen leaves, grass clippings, or pine needles. These materials can be easily gathered from your yard and don't cost a dime. 6. Shop at discount stores. When it comes to buying gardening supplies, don't overlook discount stores. Places like Dollar Tree or Big Lots often carry gardening tools, planters, and even seeds for a fraction of the cost of other retailers. You can also find deals at discount stores like Aldi or Trader Joe's on seed packets, houseplants, and garden decor. 7. Repurpose items. Another budget-friendly way to enhance your garden is by repurposing items that you already have. You can turn an old wheelbarrow into a planter, use old wine bottles as garden stakes, or even repurpose a broken set of drawers into a vertical garden. The possibilities are endless and can give your garden a unique and personalized touch. 8. Take advantage of freebies. Don't be afraid to ask friends and neighbors for gardening supplies or plants. Many people are more than willing to share their extra plants, seeds, or tools. You can also search online for freebies in your local community or check with nearby garden centers to see if they have any leftover plant or seed packets that they are giving away. 9. DIY garden projects. Adding personalized touches to your garden can make it feel more like your own. DIY garden projects can be budget-friendly and add unique elements to your garden. You can make your own garden markers with popsicle sticks and paint, create a trellis out of old pallets, or even make an outdoor chandelier with mason jars and tea lights. 10. Maintenance tips. Maintaining your garden properly is key to keeping it beautiful. Watering your plants regularly, keeping them pruned, and removing weeds can all contribute to the overall health and appearance of your garden. Additionally, properly caring for your gardening tools can help extend their lifespan and save you money on replacements. DIY composting, turning food waste into fertilizer. DIY composting, turning food waste into fertilizer. Composting is the act of breaking down organic waste into a nutrient-rich soil amendment that can be used to fertilize plants. It is an easy and cost-effective way to reduce waste while improving soil health. Today, we will explore the benefits of composting and a step-by-step guide to creating your own compost at home. Benefits of composting. 1. Reduces waste. Composting reduces the amount of organic waste that is sent to landfills. By diverting food waste and other organic material from the garbage, composting helps to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and helps to conserve landfill space. 2. Improves soil health. Compost is rich in nutrients that are essential for plant growth. When added to soil, compost enhances the soil's fertility, water holding capacity, and ability to support healthy plant growth. Compost also helps to improve soil structure, making it easier for plant roots to penetrate and absorb water and nutrients. 3. Saves money. Composting can save money on fertilizer and soil amendments. Instead of purchasing expensive synthetic fertilizers, gardeners can create their own compost from organic waste. 4. Reduces pollution. Composting reduces the need for chemical fertilizers and pesticides, which can contaminate water sources and harm wildlife. Instead of relying on these harmful chemicals, gardeners can use compost to improve soil health and promote healthy plant growth. Creating your own compost. Step 1. Choose a location. The first step in creating your own compost is to choose a location. Composting can be done in a variety of locations, including a backyard, balcony, or even an apartment kitchen. Choose a location that is convenient for you and has adequate space for your compost pile. Step 2. Gather supplies. Next, gather supplies. To create your own compost, you will need the following. Compost bin or pile. This can be an open pile or a container specifically designed for composting. Organic waste. This includes food scraps, yard waste, and other organic material. Water. Composting requires moisture to break down the organic material. Shovel or pitchfork. This is used to turn or aerate the compost pile. Step 3. Add organic waste. Once you have your supplies, it's time to start composting. Begin by adding organic waste to your compost bin or pile. This can include food scraps such as fruit and vegetable peels, coffee grounds, eggshells, and yard waste such as leaves and grass clippings. Do not include meat, dairy, or oily foods as these may attract pests and slow down the composting process. Step 4. Water and aerate. After adding organic waste, water the compost pile to ensure that it stays moist. Use a hose or watering can to moisten the pile, but be careful not to overwater as this can cause the pile to become too wet. A compost pile also needs oxygen to break down the organic material. Turn the pile with a pitchfork or shovel every few weeks to aerate it and promote decomposition. Step 5. Wait and monitor. Composting is a slow process, and it can take several months to a year for the organic material to break down into nutrient-rich compost. As you wait, monitor the compost pile to ensure that it stays moist and continues to decompose. You can also test the compost by checking for a sweet, earthy smell and a dark, crumbly texture. Tips for successful composting. 1. Balancing the ratio. The ideal compost pile is a 3-to-1 ratio of brown to green material. Brown material includes leaves, twigs, and shredded newspaper, while green material includes food scraps and grass clippings. 2. Chopping material. Chopping up the organic material into smaller pieces can help speed up the composting process as it exposes more surface area for decomposition. 3. Don't overwater. Overwatering can cause the compost pile to become too wet, slowing down the decomposition process. 4. Turning the pile. Turning the compost pile helps to aerate and mix the organic material, which promotes decomposition and speeds up the composting process. 5. Avoid chemicals. Avoid adding chemicals such as pesticides and herbicides to the compost pile, as this can harm beneficial microbes and slow down decomposition. 6. Composting do's and don'ts. To ensure a healthy compost pile, there are some do's and don'ts to follow. Do add fruit and vegetable scraps, leaves, grass clippings, tea bags, and coffee grounds. Fruit trees in containers. Growing your own orchard in small spaces. Fruit trees in containers. Growing your own orchard in small spaces. For many people, the idea of having fruit trees at home seems like a dream that can only become a reality if they have enough outdoor space. But times have changed, and the traditional idea of having an orchard consisting of a vast area of land with rows of fruit trees is not the only option anymore. With the help of container gardening, anybody, regardless of space constraints, can grow fruit trees and enjoy their fruits. With the continuous advancement in agriculture technology, fruit trees in containers have become a popular alternative for those looking to grow their own fruit trees. Container gardening enables individuals to control the environment in which their plant grows, limiting the environmental factors that affect the growth of their plants. It also allows people to grow fruit trees in different sizes and shapes, depending on the type of tree and the available space. In this article, we will be discussing the advantages of growing fruit trees in containers and how to succeed in container gardening. We will also be taking a look at some common fruit trees and how to grow them in containers. Advantages of growing fruit trees in containers. Fruit trees in containers have numerous advantages that make them an excellent choice for people who lack outdoor space. Here are some of the benefits of growing fruit trees in containers. 1. Conserve space. Growing fruit trees in containers spans over a small space, making it an excellent option for people who live in the city or an apartment. Container gardening reduces the amount of space required by a typical fruit tree, making it easier for individuals with limited garden space to enjoy the fruits of their labor. 2. Portability. Containers are portable, which gives the gardener the ability to move the tree to different locations. This is convenient for people who live in regions with unfavorable weather conditions or gardening conditions. In this case, the tree can be moved to a location with more optimal conditions for it to grow. 3. Improve drainage. One of the most important factors in container gardening is the requirement of adequate drainage. When growing fruit trees in containers, drainage is necessary for proper growth. This results in better root development and promotes healthier trees. 4. Pest control. Container gardening promotes better pest control management. Pests such as caterpillars, mites, and worms are less likely to become an issue with container gardening. Because the tree is elevated off the ground, away from pests that could potentially damage the tree. 5. Cost-effective. Growing fruit trees in containers provides a cost-effective solution for homeowners. Container gardening eliminates the need for purchasing expensive land, and it allows property owners to grow their fruit trees in small spaces without breaking the bank. How to succeed in container gardening. For successful fruit tree container gardening, some key factors must be considered. Here are a few tips for proper management of container gardening. 1. Selecting the right tree and container. It's essential to choose the right tree for container gardening. Some trees do better in containers than others. Dwarf fruit trees are the most appropriate for container gardening, as they take up less space, they are more manageable, and they are easier to move. It's also essential to pick the right size container for the fruit tree. In general, the container should be twice the size of the tree's roots and deep enough to ensure the roots have ample space to grow. 2. Proper soil and water management. The most critical aspect of container gardening is providing the tree with adequate soil and water. A high-quality potting mix provides the tree with the necessary nutrients required for its growth. Additionally, it is crucial to water the tree regularly and maintain the soil at the adequate level of moisture to prevent the roots from drying out. 3. Location and sun exposure. Different fruit trees have varying sunlight preferences. It's essential to choose a location that receives the appropriate amount of sunlight, depending on the type of fruit tree. Citrus fruit trees, for example, do well in areas that receive full sunlight, while some fruit trees like peaches do well with partial shade. It's also necessary to select an area with proper ventilation to promote air circulation. Common fruit trees and how to grow them in containers. 1. Citrus trees. Permaculture, sustainable agriculture for a better future. Permaculture is a sustainable approach to agriculture that seeks to create an ecosystem that mimics the natural world. By designing a system that incorporates plants, animals, and the environment, permaculture aims to create a self-sustaining system that meets the needs of humans while also protecting the health of the planet. The term permaculture was first coined in the 1970s by environmentalists Bill Mollison and David Holmgren, who realized that the current industrial agricultural practices were unsustainable. They believed that a more holistic approach was needed to address the problems of soil erosion, overuse of pesticides, and monoculture farming that were causing harm to the Earth's ecosystems. Permaculture is based on three key principles: care for the earth, care for people, and fair share. The first principle is about protecting the environment and maintaining its health. This includes protecting biodiversity, conserving water, reducing carbon emissions, and preventing soil erosion. The second principle is about meeting the needs of people, while also protecting the environment. This involves providing food, clean water, shelter, and other basic needs, but also addressing social justice, equity, and inclusion. The third principle is about sharing resources and knowledge in a way that is fair and equitable. One of the main goals of permaculture is to create a system that is self-sustaining, minimizing the use of external inputs such as fertilizers, pesticides, and water. This is achieved by designing a system that utilizes natural resources and cycles. For example, a permaculture garden may include plants that are nitrogen fixers, such as legumes, which can add nitrogen to the soil naturally. The garden may also include plants that attract beneficial insects, which can help control pests naturally. Another important feature of permaculture is the use of diversity. Monoculture farming is a common practice in industrial agriculture, where large fields are planted with a single crop. This can lead to soil depletion, increased pest problems, and a loss of biodiversity. In permaculture, diversity is encouraged through the use of polyculture, where a variety of crops are planted in the same area. This can help improve soil health, reduce pests, and provide a more varied diet. Permaculture also focuses on regenerating and restoring damaged ecosystems. This can be achieved through techniques such as regenerative agriculture, which involves restoring the soil by adding organic matter, reducing tillage, and using cover crops. Regenerative agriculture can help improve soil health, increase biodiversity, and sequester carbon in the soil. Permaculture is not just about agriculture, but also about designing sustainable systems for living. This can include designing energy-efficient buildings, creating a self-sustaining water system, and using renewable energy sources. Permaculture principles can be applied to all aspects of life to create a more sustainable and regenerative future. One of the key benefits of permaculture is its ability to improve food security and provide a more resilient food system. Industrial agriculture relies heavily on external inputs such as fossil fuels, fertilizers, and pesticides, which can be subject to price fluctuations and supply chain disruptions. In contrast, permaculture relies on natural resources that are abundant and accessible, such as sunlight, water, and soil. With proper design and management, permaculture can provide a steady and abundant supply of food, even in times of crisis or uncertainty. Permaculture is also beneficial for the environment, as it helps protect biodiversity, conserve water, reduce carbon emissions, and prevent soil erosion. By using natural resources and cycles, permaculture can help restore damaged ecosystems and create a more resilient planet. Furthermore, permaculture has social benefits as well. By designing systems that meet the needs of people while also protecting the environment, permaculture can help address issues of social justice, equity, and inclusion. For example, a community garden that incorporates permaculture principles can provide fresh produce. For people with limited access to healthy food, while also promoting community building and social interaction. Permaculture can also be seen as a way to reconnect with nature and to develop a deeper understanding and appreciation of the natural world. By working with natural systems and observing the patterns and cycles of the environment, permaculturists can learn valuable lessons about resilience, adaptability, and cooperation. One of the challenges of permaculture is that it requires a shift in mindset and a new way of thinking about agriculture and living. Rather than seeing nature as something to be conquered and controlled, permaculture recognizes the interdependence and interconnectedness of all living things. This requires a willingness to work with nature, rather than against it, and to embrace the complexity and unpredictability of natural systems. Another challenge of permaculture is that it requires knowledge and skills that are not typically taught in mainstream education systems. Permaculture design courses and workshops can provide valuable training in areas such as agroecology, ecological design, and renewable energy systems. However, these courses can be expensive and may not be accessible to everyone. Permaculture also faces challenges in terms of scaling up and becoming more widely adopted. While there are many successful examples of permaculture farms and gardens around the world, these are often small-scale and limited in their impact. Scaling up permaculture to meet the needs of large populations will require policy changes, financial incentives, and widespread education and awareness. Despite these challenges, permaculture offers a promising alternative to industrial agriculture and a path towards a more sustainable future. By prioritizing care for the earth, care for people, and sharing resources fairly, permaculture can help address the pressing challenges of food security, climate change, and environmental degradation. In recent years, permaculture has gained increased attention and recognition as a viable solution to these challenges. Governments, NGOs, and grassroots organizations around the world are turning to permaculture as a way to promote sustainable agriculture, reduce poverty, and improve livelihoods. Permaculture is also becoming a popular choice for individuals and families who want to grow their own food, live more sustainably, and reconnect with nature. Backyard gardens, community gardens, and urban farms are all examples of how permaculture principles can be applied in small-scale settings to create a more resilient and regenerative food system. Permaculture also recognizes the importance of community involvement and collaboration. By working together, individuals and communities can implement permaculture principles on a larger scale and create a more regenerative and resilient food system. One example of community involvement in permaculture is the concept of a food forest. A food forest is a designed ecosystem that mimics a natural forest, but with edible plants and trees instead of purely decorative ones. Food forests use permaculture principles to create a self-sustaining system that produces food while also enhancing biodiversity and providing other ecosystem services. DIY drip irrigation, saving water and time in your garden. DIY drip irrigation, saving water and time in your garden. Maintaining a garden requires a considerable amount of effort and resources. Among the necessary resources in gardening, water is the most valuable and often scarce. Traditional watering methods like hose or sprinkler irrigation, though effective, can be wasteful in terms of water usage and time. In contrast, drip irrigation systems are a smart, efficient, and cost-effective alternative that can save precious water resources and reduce the time needed for watering plants. In this article, we'll unpack the benefits of DIY drip irrigation systems and guide you through the steps of installation. What is drip irrigation? Drip irrigation is a watering system that involves slow and steady application of water to the base of plants using pipes, tubes, or hoses with small emitters or drippers. Water is delivered directly to the roots of the plants, and the slow flow of water reduces soil erosion and water runoff. Drip irrigation is ideal for any garden bed or planting area, including container gardens, vegetable patches, and landscape beds. Benefits of drip irrigation systems. 1. Water conservation. Drip irrigation systems save up to 50% of water compared to traditional hose or sprinkler irrigation. 2. Time saving. With drip irrigation, watering becomes an automated process, requiring less time and effort as compared to watering by hand. 3. Reduced weed growth. Drip irrigation delivers water to plants only, avoiding water wastage on weed-prone areas. 4. Protection against diseases. Overhead watering methods like sprinklers can cause fungal disease in plants by splashing water on their leaves. Drip irrigation delivers water to the roots of plants, preventing the growth of fungal diseases. 5. Increased yield. Watering plants effectively and consistently with a drip irrigation system results in healthy plant growth and high yield. Steps for installing drip irrigation systems. Step 1. Plan your irrigation system. The first step in installing your drip irrigation system is planning. Choosing the right materials for the job can make a huge difference in the effectiveness of your system. Before starting any installation, consider the size and layout of your garden, the types of plants you wish to irrigate, and the availability of a water source. You'll also need to have a rough idea of how you want to route your tubing and drip lines around your garden. This will help you create a simple and effective system that meets the needs of your garden. Step 2. Gather the required materials. Once you have your plan in place, it's time to gather the necessary materials. The components required for a drip irrigation system include a timer, connectors, tubing, filters, emitters, and a pressure regulator valve. Step 3. Install the water source. You'll need a water supply to run your irrigation system. If you don't have an outdoor faucet, you'll need to install one. Simply attach a backflow preventer or pressure regulator to a sillcock or spigot to supply water to your drip system. Alternatively, you can use an automatic water timer to set the system to water at specific times. Step 4. Lay the main tubing. Begin by laying the main tubing along the length of your garden. Use durable tubing that is rated for outdoor use and is UV resistant. Connect the ends of tubing with elbow connectors. Make sure the tubing runs close to the plants you want to irrigate, avoiding any obstacles or sharp bends. Step 5. Add the distribution tubing. From the main tubing, add distribution tubing that runs to each plant or row you want to irrigate. Use T-connectors, straight connectors, and drip line end caps as required. Cut the tubing to length, and remember to add more emitters or drip lines per plant if they have a bigger horticulture. Step 6. Add the emitters or drippers. Install emitters or drippers at the base of each plant or in the distribution tubing. The number of emitters or drippers you install will depend on the size and water needs of each plant. Be sure to use emitters that match the flow rate of your system. Drip emitters are available in different flow rates, including 1, 2, or 4 gallons per hour. Step 7. Test your system. Before covering the tubing with soil, test your system to identify and correct any leaks or issues. Turn on the water supply and check the pressure. Set the timer to activate and check the water flow from the emitters or drippers. Adjust the drip rate or spacing of drip lines as needed based on plant requirements. Step 8. Backfill and finish. Once you've tested your system and have made any necessary adjustments, cover the tubing with soil. Adding a layer of mulch will also help to retain moisture in the soil. Use a timer to schedule watering to avoid waste of water. In addition to the benefits listed above, another advantage of drip irrigation systems is that they are customizable, allowing gardeners to adjust the water flow to meet the specific needs of different plants. For example, plants that require more water can be given additional emitters or drippers, while those that require less water can be given fewer. Another important factor to consider when installing a drip irrigation system is the type of soil in your garden. If you have clay soil, you may need to water your plants more frequently as the soil retains water for longer periods of time. On the other hand, sandy soil may require less frequent watering as it drains water more quickly. It's also important to regularly maintain your drip irrigation system to ensure that it is functioning properly and efficiently.